I was at Harvard Business School 1967 to 1969, seems like a very long time ago now, when Intel was being created and when DEC was going public. General Doria had invested $70,000 in DEC and taken out $100 million, so that caught my attention. And I began to think that perhaps this could be done in Europe as well. We set up in 1972 and raised our first fund in 1981. It took us 9 years to raise a £10 million fund.
If we go back to 1979, when Margaret Thatcher came to power, British industry was falling to pieces. If you look across the Atlantic, the good venture capital firms were making huge amounts of money at that time. When we started Advent, institutions, particularly the investment trusts and insurance companies, they wanted to see whether this would work or not. This was a really new way of going about things.
You almost had to define it.
In venture capital, we're looking for great entrepreneurs, somebody who really understands the needs of his customer and can create a product which is really exciting to the customer is what we look for.
Very early stage companies, really very close to the startup stage.
The most important thing is we know how to build companies and how to get to the value generation points at which we can sell the company.
I was involved in a company called Cambridge Silicon Radio, which invented the first Bluetooth chip, and half the Bluetooth chips in the world came from that investment. And when a market takes off very quickly, the company that we're in becomes very valuable.
But that model began to change. We realized that the big money was going to be invested in buyouts.
When you have a trading history, when you have an established company, when you have a company with a foundation, it's a safer bet.
Businesses that we can grow and change and make something of. The magic of private equity is that you align interests.
We deliberately go and seek at the outset the senior employees, and in some cases all the employees, to be owners in the business.
They're incentivized to make it much more valuable.
Private ownership at its best, I think, can be more dynamic, it can be faster moving.
If we see an opportunity, we can go for it.
And it's a very different environment. It is not as comfortable, which is half the fun.
We were also on the boards of the companies that we invest in, so we sit around the table, participate in discussions on strategy.
Every single business can be improved. How you do that, that's the secret sauce.
We really focus hard on the deployment of capital inside the business. We're very efficient.
By investing ahead of when you need to, you can actually grow faster.
We invariably take a rather domestic business and work with that company to make an international one.
We took an idea and a dream in a garage and turned that into a company that now employs over 6,000 people. That is because of private equity.
And that simple story is a story that we've shown ourselves in need of help in telling, and that's what the BVCA does extremely successfully.
The BVCA is an association representing 525 members.
Everybody from Carlyle and Blackstone at the big end of the market, all the way down to the smallest venture firm.
And we act to develop policy and help shape regulation on behalf of the industry with parliamentarians, with the British government, with regulators and others in Europe.
The BVCA is a forum where you can really debate the technical issues that sometimes come up, the media issues that come up.
It's an industry that is often misunderstood both within the media and I think society in more general terms.
Very wisely, the BVCA asked Sir David Walker to look at what could be done around transparency, and I was asked to be part of that group. The then Chancellor of the Exchequer felt that there needed to be some monitoring.
We formed a body chaired by Sir Mike Rake, and what Mike and a few of us have done, I sit on that committee, is be the policeman for transparency.
Some of the major private equity houses really got that this was important, put their full weight behind it.
The big challenge for an organisation like the BVCA is whether it follows its members or leads them. I hope it continues to lead as much as it follows.
Well, private equity has grown substantially over the last 30 years. The industry is part and parcel of economic life in the UK.
What we must also do is play our part in society.
The importance of being a good corporate citizen.
And I think the private equity industry will be perceived as the creator of a new asset class, which is social investment. In many ways, the greatest contribution of private equity is still to come.
It's more important than ever that whatever capital is required, we have people who are willing to invest to help grow these businesses. More important than ever that we have people who've been through this before with other companies and other entrepreneurs, guide people coming along.
My great hope is that over the next 10 years, Britain will emerge as the global capital for the private equity and venture capital industry. We're great innovators, we have wonderful engineers and companies, we have the infrastructure, the systems, the markets to support that.
We have world-class universities. London, Oxford and Cambridge are all ranked in the top 10 of the world universities.
Cambridge Silicon Radio achieved $1 billion revenue in 7 years, and to put that into context, Facebook did it in 6 and Google did it in 5. So people talk about not having any of those companies in this country. We have them, we're just not very good at talking about them.
The good news though is that every day I see people, I go, my goodness, I didn't know you could make money from that. I didn't know that that's a way of developing a business.
And this is a time when I think venture capitalists and private equity can really step up to the plate and support a lot of these individuals.
That is what, in the end, will help the UK to recover and get back on a decent growth path.